This is the story of a man who lives a simple life in not much more than a garden shed. He is no ordinary man, but Leilung Rinpoche, a Tibetan High Lama or teacher. At the age of 14, he was recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama as the 11th reincarnation of one of Tibet's most senior teachers.
Leilung is one of the three famous reincarnated lamas in Tibet. We call it Bujji Tulku Namsum. That means the three famous tulkus of the Tibet.
He is a man on an extraordinary mission to rescue his previous incarnation's teachings lost through the political upheavals of the 20th century. Tibetan Buddhists believe these teachings provide a step-by-step guide on how to reach enlightenment. Whilst some are lost, the path remains incomplete. And it's not only the teachings that Leilung Rinpoche must find, but the teachers themselves, who hold the key to unlocking their secrets. And he finds himself here in northwest London with a daunting task ahead and many responsibilities to juggle. From his worldwide quest to his local meditation group. His story begins here in Ruislip. Since the Chinese occupation of Tibet, Tibetan exiles have settled all over the world. Leilung Rinpoche came to the UK as a teacher 7 years ago. He ended up staying, and for now, this is home.
It's not easy, but I'm trying to combine between the two cultures, wearing the Western style clothes and saying the Western way of saying every moment, thank you, very kind, and excuse me, I'm sorry.
For the last 4 years, he's lived in the garden of his student, reflexologist Connie Dushek, and her family.
The jokes do come of Connie with her llama in her garden. Connie and Phil have got a llama living in their garden. You know, I think people would actually be less surprised if it was like an alpaca type animal. And sometimes I do let them think that if the explanation's just going to go on too long.
I can imagine it was quite intimidating coming here at first, and he's probably come out of his shell quite a bit since then. A lot of the old clothes that I've passed on, handed down, he's happy to pick them up and put them out. But next thing I know, he's wearing them. He's got the full outfit on, Timberland boots or whatever.
Sometimes I remember, I came downstairs once, he was wearing a pair of my brother's old jeans, a t-shirt that was quite jazzy, and I don't know, a pair of his trainers. I was a bit like, oh, Rinpoche, hi, what are you wearing?
I can see now that the Buddhist teachings are very important and that they've got to be saved, and that if I can help Rinpoche make his life a bit easier here, and he can get on with that work and not have to worry about just living, trying to survive here, then I'll be helping.
The previous Leilung's teachings have spread far across Southeast Asia from Tibet. Leilung Rinpoche is focusing his search on India and Mongolia and trying to gain access to Tibet. It is the teachings of the fifth Leilung, who lived in the 1700s, that he is most interested in. His 46 volumes contain instruction on everything from health to deep tantric practice, with clearly written steps on meditation and unparalleled descriptions of Tibetan gods and deities.
And what's the other one?
It's a lot to digest, but like everyone else, Leilung Rinpoche has still got to eat. It's not always easy having a high lama in your midst, something that Leilung is acutely aware of.
He's generally very respectful of us in terms of he'll get up from a chair and be like, oh, please sit down. And you'll be like, no, I'm fine. You know, he's very aware that it's our house and, you know, to get up and stuff, which is obviously hard because he's definitely not used to that. If he was, you know, if he was in India, he's a high lama, he's very important and people treat him that way.
I feel very lucky that I met Connie and her husband and her family here. It's a good example of English people. So I just pray or share my merit with them.
It's not just the Dushek family that he has a connection with, but also with their 2 dogs, 3 cats, guinea pigs and pet rabbits.
Our animals love him, always have, even the ones that aren't that friendly. When our cat Amra she was 19, when she was getting really ill and she was starting to go, and he literally put his hands on her and that was it, gone. Like, went in to see her and then that was it, over, gone. She's gone, that was it, gone. So that was the one thing that we were all like, oh, it's the best way to knock him off then. Get Rinpoche to go near him, out like a light.
That the 11th Leilung Rinpoche has adapted so well to his life with the Dushek family is no surprise to leading Tibetan scholar Robert Thurman.
The human mind is so amazing, and the reincarnation process is where the Bodhisattva goes among the ordinary people as an ordinary person in some sense, and then they retain what I call selflessness in action. It doesn't mean that you're not there or that you're just so enlightened. What it means is that you have tremendous resiliency of identity. In a certain context, you're perfectly normal and you treat other people with great respect. You have a feeling of equality with them. And then in some context, in a ritual context or where you're conferring initiation or you're giving some teaching, then you're acting as a teacher and you act with a certain self-confidence. But you don't rigidly stick to that.
Leilung Rinpoche was first asked to the UK by a meditation group, and leading one in Ruislip remains a big part of his practice, alongside his mission to find texts. Once a week they gather in a rented local hall, and after a short discourse on Buddhism, the students simply sit.
Old age has made me feel a little bit lethargic. But I have noticed the difference if I don't meditate. If I meditate, there's a sort of a goodness and good feeling that comes over me.
Generally, I think I'm just happy. What can I say? I think if you think about all the things that Buddhism, you know, you try to avoid anger and greed and hatred, and I think it makes you happy.
I know it hurts, and it's like showing a mirror, seeing yourself in a mirror, and I don't like the reflection. The previous group was very easy and very nice, but not much benefit. This is not very nice, very hard, but great benefit, I think.
For now, his British students will have to manage without him, as Leilung Rinpoche must travel to South India to host a once-in-a-lifetime ceremony for the Leilung monks. These monks fled from the Leilung Valley in Tibet, and ever since, Rinpoche has provided for them, both spiritually and financially. Since the 1959 exodus of Tibet, over 100,000 Tibetans now live in India. It's a long way from the Himalayan mountains, but for many Tibetans, this has come to feel like home.
We call these buffaloes yak, which haven't got hair. You know, when yak came to India, then they lost all their hairs.
This is Drepung, population 20,000 and home to more than 7,000 monks. Rinpoche lived here for 14 years whilst he studied as a full-time monk. He was given this 12-room house by His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself. It is a far cry from his garden shed in Ruislip. It means a great deal to Rinpoche coming here, as these monks are the future of the Leilung lineage. It is to them first that he will transmit the teachings that he strives so hard to preserve.
When he first became a monk, he was, I think, 8, and I'm acting his mother.
Leilung and his students belong in the Gelugpa tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, which centres on scholastic excellence and intellectual rigour. It also relies heavily on oral transmission. Tibetan Buddhists believe it is only by hearing a teaching from its true lineage holder that the student becomes ready for the realisation that is based on it. The monks are encouraged to be sceptical, and every day after dark they are invited to debate on the Dharma, or Buddhist teaching, of the day. The standing philosopher poses questions of the seated monk, who must answer without hesitation. Each clap acts as a rhetorical punctuation mark. Be afraid the monk who hasn't done his homework. The young monk's training continues well into the night. It couldn't be more different from the level of study that Leilung expects from his British students.
In the UK, I don't know that I can say they are my proper student. However, you know, they follows me and I give them teaching, but I can't tell them thoroughly, because in order to explain this method, you should have some basic understanding of Dharma, otherwise it's difficult.
Preparations are underway for the Geshe Dongo ceremony, which marks the final stage in the Leilung monks' long journey to become Geshes, or spiritual teachers. But first, Leilung Rinpoche has been summoned to meet his great guru, Buddhist master Demolotcho Rinpoche, to tell him about his work in London. The master has some intimidating advice for him.
아니 렌제 고르도 지마시 아니 장소 취해 진도요는 담발 렌제 신고를 세제 된 렌제 고랑 시대요 돈거도
근데 rumbuji처럼 란데를 누르티 그래서 다 잘해서 오래 라내서 오래 고구마도 공부해서 되네 소치나 텐데 로된 치워도 거기는 용습이 고 대반면 고롤 보고 말아 존재되게 돈 주주된 거야지 윤세대 뒤에 동안 주주군 대바제에서는 론도 갈럽나.
Of course, if you have miracle powers, if you do it, maybe it's very useful. But a person like me, I don't have any power.
Leilung has no time to be daunted by the prospect of performing miracles, as he must fulfill his duty as the host of today's important ceremony. 4,000 monks are gathering, while Leilung makes his last-minute preparations.
Today, my role here is to appreciate their hard work for not a day or night. It's every day, every month, and every year for 17 years.
기시 동고대에 늘어서무지게 딜리제네 로존나 레스토 아니 페이지에는 뭐될 도메나 딜리제데네 페미시 가서 가서야 리 튜진데네 어딘지기스 어딘지 클라로지
The basis of the Geshe Dongo ceremony is giving thanks, and on the Leilung monks' behalf, food, tea and money will be offered to all of the monks and teachers who have prepared them for this day. In Tibetan Buddhism, food is imbued with great sanctity, and eating food communally is a way to connect with all those whose lives are sustained by it. At last, the young Geshe in waiting makes his way up on stage to complete the ceremony. Leilung Rinpoche had to sell property in Dharamsala to pay for this day for his monks. It is a big moment, and his prayers are not just with his student, but for every last person and animal who have made it possible.
Today I was thinking of those donkeys in Dharamsala which served to build my house. I was always a bit sad about them. They do not speak, and they carry all the scents and everything. So sad, and I can't do without them and build the house. Then now I sold flats there and making the offering here and trying to share the merit to all the donkeys who served.
For the next hour, monks will pass through Leilung Rinpoche's house, offering their congratulations in the form of a white scarf. The day has been a success. Back in Ruislip, Buddhist Connie is busy hosting a therapy day to raise money for Rinpoche's work. Despite his absence, the show must go on.
Somebody's handing out leaflets in the high street, it's in the newspaper, so I hope that people will hear all about it and, just come along, new people, to find out what we're about, really.
2 months before the day, she works on it. At home, papers everywhere, chaos.
None of them are being paid, so they're willing to do it, but some people are coming half a day, some people are coming for 3 hours. It all has to be organised so that we know exactly what everybody's doing. But I do enjoy it. It's become part of my life now, and I don't know what I'd do if I'm not doing it.
While Connie and the students are raising money, Leilung Rinpoche is being asked to spend it. A site has been found for much-needed new lodgings, as there are now more monks than rooms to put them in.
They invited me to view. Also, they're hoping that I could help them since I live in the UK. Maybe think that I'm able to talk to anybody and ask a donation. I think they're asking me, it's the right person, but who knows? I can't promise anything. I didn't promise anything. So if you promise, then you got to do.
At the monastery, Leilung at last has a chance to focus on his mission of finding the lost Leilung teachings. He gets a lucky break. A friend has brought him a handwritten manuscript of the 5th Leilung, just rescued from Tibet.
This book I was looking for a long time. Why I was, so crazy about finding this copy was because this oral transmission is also there. Here's a master called Gin Yunden, and he have this oral transmission. And soon we're gonna ask him to give us oral transmission. It's great.
Happy that he's found this text, Leilung has one last Tibetan elder to consult before he leaves. He is also one of the most revered, a monk who even the Dalai Lama will bow down to meet. His Holiness Rizong Rinpoche, head of the Gelugpa school of Tibetan Buddhism. Conversation soon turns to Tibet. His Holiness wants Leilung Rinpoche to waste no time in getting there. Energized by his meeting, Leilung must get back to England, where he knows he has the best chance of securing his visa to Tibet.
What I did notice, he's very determined. Once he is started, he carry on. This is the great quality. Determination.
Back in England, while Rinpoche works on getting his Tibetan visa, a place has been found for a permanent home for his work in Ruislip. An old shop in a local high street has been rented, and work to convert it is well underway.
It's not that big, but it's designed the way the Tibetan monastery looks like. It's quite exciting.
And Rinpoche phoned me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm painting my mum's house." He laughed and said, "Oh, that's good." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I want you to come and paint the centre."
Job done.
Over the following months, work on the centre progresses rapidly, and they open a charity shop in the front room for fundraising. Unlike other spiritual leaders, Leilung does much of the manual work himself.
So far, all right.
Usually, as a Dharma center leader, they don't necessarily form they don't form churches usually, because of the overall idea of the Buddhists today, led by the Dalai Lama, that people should not be competing to convert each other. But they have Dharma centers and meditation centers. And so the Tibetan Buddhists are doing that. They're having meditation centers without enforcing a kind of religious, denominational, card-carrying belief system on people, which is why it's hard to count the Buddhists in the West, because if you ask someone, they say, "Are you a Buddhist?" and they say, "Well, yeah, but I'm also whatever my grandma was and this, and yeah, I do meditate and practice." But, it's not presented as a card-carrying denominational thing where you then have to join and then condemn everybody else. That's considered very, very not good in the Buddhist setting.
This is the first shrine in the UK, which I did.
But no sooner is the paint dry than Leilung Rinpoche, now a British passport holder, gets his chance to travel to Tibet.
It's a very urgent to meet those old lamas in Tibet, because the lineage which they uphold has to be passed on before they die. That's why I'm so worried. It is time limited. So if we don't do now, then you can't do it for the future.
I think everyone in the group feels that we're very lucky to have a Lama here in our midst, and that he can come and teach us every week. We can talk to him. I mean, if people want to talk to him, they can come and talk to him. And I think there's a lot of Sanghas who don't have that kind of opportunity. You know, we're only just starting to appreciate it now, and it won't be long really before he's gone.
Rinpoche is hoping to travel to both Tibet and Mongolia. He's discovered that some of the rarest missing Tantra teachings can be found there.
His immediate responsibility is to preserve and promote the Lelong, successive Lelong's teaching tradition. Mongolia and Tibet is the only country where the Tantra teachings remain. The present Lelong Rinpoche has the courage and determination to shoulder that responsibility.
He can't be sure if he will get to Tibet, as he has to travel via Beijing for final approval from the Chinese officials.
If I get a visa, I will also go to Tibet after that. And there are good chance to get the visa.
Excited but a little apprehensive, he boards his flight to his first stop, Dharamsala, India. Dharamsala, home to the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan leadership in exile. It's a place of pilgrimage and worship, where thousands from around the world flock each year.
When I arrived in India, I always felt that I came back to home. I don't know my friends are here or not.
For Lelong Rinpoche, it's a place to connect with both his people and his practice ahead of his journey to find the lost teachings. Here, in the foothills of the Himalayas, it's also where he comes to think and dream about his true home, the Lelong Valley in Tibet.
That mountain will be same as one of the mountain in Lelong. We call it Namsiri. I hope I can go there. Previous Lelongs were great practitioners, and their realizations are so high that I can't see or understand how much or how far they reached. Like me, I'm not a great practitioner. Improving my heart is the most difficult job. Well, I hope before I'm facing death, I get some improvement.
Before he can set off on his quest, Rinpoche has a very important meeting with the Tibetan Prime Minister, Professor Samdong Rinpoche. The Prime Minister is enormously respected, and his support for Lelong's mission could open many doors for him. He receives the Prime Minister's blessing for his onward journey.
Each elevated and enlightened masters has a unique teaching or unique technique of his or her own tradition. Buddha become Buddha because of his teaching. Lelung Rinpoches have become Lelung Rinpoche because they are teaching and practice. And all these are preserved in their writings. If they are disappeared and completely lost, it is a great loss for entire humanity.
In Ruislip, Connie is already feeling the pressure of managing the centre without her teacher.
I did say right at the beginning, please don't leave me with this to run on my own. I never realised how much hard work was in a charity shop. The amount of stuff that comes in and actually has to be sorted is overwhelming.
I don't think I'm a size 40 though. I don't think even Louisa's a size 40.
Buy it. I won't let you not buy it. People want direction, and I'm not a manager, and I'm not someone who can tell everybody what to do. A lot of these people are friends who have volunteered, and I don't want to be in the situation where I have to tell them what to do and boss them around. It was never going to be like that. Rinpoche's good at bossing people around.
It's the middle of the night when Rinpoche arrives in Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia. He's met by local monk Amar Jagel, who's been assigned to translate and help Rinpoche in his search for the teachings. There are 2 million people in Mongolia, and the national religion is Tibetan Buddhism, and has been since Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, became a Tibetan Buddhist in the 16th century. In the 20th century, Buddhism in Mongolia was driven underground by the Soviet Union. Since its disintegration in the 1990s, Buddhism has enjoyed a renaissance, nowhere more evident than here, at the country's largest monastery, Ganden. This is where Leilung's hunt for his lost teachings will begin. Leilung Rinpoche has an appointment with one of Mongolia's most influential practitioners, Kuntu Zangpo. He's been the driving force in revitalizing the Buddhist faith across the country.
Tibet and Mongolia, who were once known as conquest dynastic societies and had huge empires, in fact, the Mongolian one, even huger than the Tibetan one, as everybody knows, the Genghis Khan is like a proverb, that they managed to become vulnerable, understandably and unfortunately, but demilitarized, very hard to understand, and blessedly is amazing. And we have something to learn from them.
Kuntu Zangpo has a very special collection, teachings that have recently been rescued from secret hiding places all over the country. This collection is now safe, but is completely disorganized, and there is no index system. It'll take days, if not weeks, to get through it. But that's not all, as Kuntu Zangpo is keen to show Rinpoche the monastery's ancient library, where other precious works are kept under lock and key. Leilung Rinpoche finds a 300-year-old book about the first Leilung, lost from the library of the fifth. He realizes he has found something special.
Da means I. Shebe Doje means himself, Leilung's name, for his own usage, produced. Reading this, it makes me feel very special that I'm touching the Fit Lelung's his personal use textbook, and also incredible I saw in the first cupboard.
The weather in Mongolia is extreme and can quickly close roads. As snow and high winds move in, Rinpoche decides to leave the capital city while he still can, to continue his search. The fifth Lelung's teachings spread throughout Outer Mongolia, but records of exactly where are poor. Lelung Rinpoche is heading out to the oldest surviving monastery in Mongolia to see what clues he can find.
I feel, like I'm in my country, in Tibet. Yeah. Feel very relaxed.
The monastery at Erdene Zoo was built in 1586 from the stones of Genghis Khan's ruined capital city, Karakorum. Once home to 1,000 monks, now only a handful remain.
I'm praying that, again, Buddhism established in the Mongolia properly. Also, they reach in enlightenment as fast as possible.
Rinpoche is hoping that the library here will provide him with some answers, but it's oddly deserted. He finds out where the old monks have gone to perform a ceremony in a nearby village. Lelung is unable to resist the chance to witness Buddhism in action here on the edge of the Gobi Desert. It's been a long time since Buddhist ceremonies have been performed in rural Mongolia, and for the elders here, today's events hark back to the golden days before communism. The monks perform a purification ritual. Their offerings to the Buddha are a way to banish negative emotions and bless the crops. Lelung Rinpoche is recognized by the monks and is immediately offered pride of place.
It's good having the Dharma practice there and afterwards having like a picnic. Excellent. Having these kind of activities is very important. Whether that inside their heart, how much they are into Buddhism. However, it helps their intention and motivation and to learn Buddhism.
For Lelung, it's funny to see the gulf between a lama's life in Mongolia and in England.
In the past, I did some sort of smoke offering, and then the person who I live with, he said, "Oh, be careful, worried the neighbors, what they think, and maybe ambulance come over." So it's a different background.
Halfway across the world, Connie is making progress. She's been using this time without a teacher to consolidate her meditation practice.
This is the only quiet place around the whole house. a kind of a sanctuary.
I've noticed a marked difference in sort of the way my mum is. She doesn't ever lose her temper anymore. I'm not saying that she did a massive amount when we were younger, but that she definitely was fiery, and which I'm also like that. She just manages now. It's just like it's gone out of her. She doesn't react to things in the same way. She can let things go.
All I try to do is let my mind settle and really see what's happening in my mind when the thoughts stop racing about. And that is the extent of my practice at the moment. I can't say I've had any fantastic experiences or, but all I can say is that I've had some moments of very nice peace, and it's helped me over the years to just settle and to not get panicky, and I think that I haven't had panicky moments for a long, long time, and I think it's because of the meditation.
Amar the guide is determined to show Rinpoche one more old monastery. It's in a secret location and will be a whole day's trek to get there and back. In its day, it was a big monastery and a very holy place, and Leilung is keen to see it.
Ready? Yes. Let's move then.
It's a long and demanding climb.
What a shame. Would have been a very beautiful monastery here.
They're shocked at what they find. Ruins are all that remain of this once great monastery. Soviet troops destroyed what they found here, and it is so remote, no attempts have been made to restore its temples. Leilung is careful not to disturb the ground, not knowing what may lie beneath.
I don't want to go in this way because might be here lots of spiritual books or statues underneath. So maybe better not to walk.
Before here is 1,000 monks, but they are dead.
So we're praying for behalf of them, or our prayer dedicated for them.
But sheep are not the only witnesses to this kindly act, and their shepherd joins this impromptu call to prayer.
I asked him how many Sheep, he have 300 lots. Wonderful. 심지어는 저 여기 딱 하나 누구시다 마다 하나. 야.
Би ч өөрөө шашин шивтдэг, их шивтдэг хүн байгаа шүү дээ. Ер нь их шивтлэгтэй шүү. Баг эндээс урд нь бол нэг тийм их том хүнтэй бол их болцож байгааг л дээ.
At the bottom of the mountain, Lei Lung gets his chance to perform a miracle. The guardians of the shrine have asked him to make rain.
If there is a little bit cloud, then I can hope for more. But it's so clear, blue sky, in order to bring a huge cloud and have a rain is quite a hard job. But I prayed. Hopefully in a few days' time, maybe if it rains, maybe it's good.
Rinpoche returns to Ulaanbaatar, keen to discover what Kuntu Zangpo has dug up. He has to find his precious manuscripts and knows that the more he views, the greater his chances of success.
I don't know where I can find photocopiers for this textbook. Huge.
Hours become days and nights, and Lei Lung quickly becomes a permanent fixture at Kuntu Zangpo's school.
This morning I've been through this, and also yesterday I gave it to the other monks which are looking for the textbooks in the other library, in the other storage, and giving them all the different things that we are looking for.
And if his own workload was not enough, Lei Lung is asked to squeeze in the occasional monastic duty by giving out blessings to members of the public. After 3 days of searching, Lei Lung Rinpoche's patience is rewarded.
There are 3 or 4 different types of Lei Lung's book size. So yesterday, when I'm looking into his library, and then I saw, the size similar to Lei Lung's. Then I thought it could be, and I took one out, and that was that. Then I was very happy inside. Also, we found many small chapters here and there, so I'm quite happy, maybe a little bit delighted.
It's an extraordinary find, a book about Avalokiteshvara, a deity who represents the Buddha of compassion and the key to your heart. A vital piece of the puzzle has been found that Rinpoche hopes will bring him and the world a step closer to enlightenment.
Mainly why I'm founding the teachings is in order to practice them, not just preserve like in a museum, you keep the statues and teachings and you can't touch them. Once I sort it out, this funding the teachings, then I will try to practice more and more of those teachings. I feel that the teachings of Lelong will be very useful at this time and also future time. Still, if I read today, it works for me. So I think also will work for others to, become a better person. Going to Tibet is my aim, and I'm working for it. And I am now going Beijing, and from Beijing, Tibet is not very far. So next step is Tibet.
Leilung Rinpoche is in Beijing to meet with Chinese officials, hoping to get permission to finally travel to Tibet. We are not able to film at this time. Leilung is back in Ruislip. For now, he has been refused permission to travel to his homeland.
Yes, a bit disappointed that I couldn't go to Tibet. I'm doing my best from my side, and when I can't do what I want by the circumstances, then that's our karma. Not only my karma, it's a collective karma. Everybody have created so much different karmas.
He consoles himself in having returned safely with his precious finds from Mongolia.
But
as time passes, Leilung realizes that his home in London must give way to his worldwide mission to find the teachings and return to Tibet.
No, I'm not worried about. He should try to get back to Tibet. If he is not able to get the permission this year, he should try again and over again. And sometime he might get the persistence effort should be there.
He knows this will be difficult for Connie and his students.
It's hard work. It's not for me. I can't run a Dharma centre.
Doing a pretty good job.
No, I'm not. I don't know how much longer he'll be here, but he's definitely been like a chapter in our time in this house. One of the main things for Mum will be is that, if there's only one other person who is as involved in this project as she is, and that's Rinpoche. So when he goes, and if he goes, she always says, "Oh, I hope he's close," when, because for the effort that it will take to keep it going, that one person will be noticeably absent. But also, I know that they are friends, So she'll miss his company, and they're friends. They spend a lot of time together.
Jack is running the London Marathon to raise money for the Leilung Dharma Trust. However complicated it's been to have a Lama living in the garden, supporting his work has become a family affair.
Irony! It looks good. It looks really good.
This is all for Rinpoche. Hope he's watching.
got his arnica, rescue remedy. What else? Banana.
Appreciate everyone coming up as well. I ran the whole way.
Leilung Rinpoche has his own race to run, as he still strives to reunite the lost teachings and return to his homeland, Tibet. He believes he will get there eventually, but in the meantime, he'll focus on what he can control, his Buddhist practice and the search for inner peace.
He's among these great masters. He's still young, and I know from having known the Dalai Lama for 47 years that when they're younger, they seem more ordinary in a way. And as they get older, then, whoa, you begin to see they have special qualities. So I think it's also important, if I may say so, that younger incarnations continue their study and practice very intensely, take retreats, and also read and study and learn Western things and learn English. And I think Rinpoche is doing that, and which I'm very delighted about.
If you look on this planet, everybody is looking for something. Some people looking for fame, some people looking for wealth, some people looking for good health, some people looking for happiness. So, which is the best? You can't say it. Because people argue. If you have wealth, then you find peace. People says if you have fame, you can find peace. Myself, I am the person who is looking for peace, inner peace, and I will do whatever is required to find the peace.